Hello travelers. In this video I'm going to be ranking, at least in my view, the best followers in Metaphor ReFantazio. This game only has 14 followers, so it has kind of a smaller list compared to traditional Persona games that usually have a couple dozen, sometimes, social links. So there's not as many this time around, but actually this is a very strong cast of characters. They put a lot of detail into the storylines of each follower that you come across, and even some of the abilities they're not amazing, but there are some characters that actually do give you, of course, every archetype is tied to completing their storylines, so not only that, but you do get some good passive abilities from doing these links, and they're just very enjoyable. You don't have to worry about, answering dialogue options correctly and all of that. I'm just going to kind of go and give my opinion on how I like the storylines that play out for each of these, and we'll take a look at the list of the abilities as well and maybe factor those in. So this is just my view. There's some that I liked more than others. I think I liked almost everybody in this game. Really good writing. This is some of the best Atlas writing that I've seen. I have a traditional tier list here. I'll probably start with my B tier, and then I'll work my way up to S tier. I don't think anyone is worse than B tier. I really like all the characters. I wouldn't put all of them in the S tier. I got a lot of people in the A row, but there's a couple of characters that I didn't care for as much, so I decided to put them in the B tier. So for me, honestly, I think the weakest one would be Strohl. Now, Strohl is a cool character, at least in the beginning. I like Strohl. I mean, he's the first follower that you have, other than, I think you get Gallica. She's really the first one, but I'm not even sure if you, you would start with Gallica, but then Strohl, he's the first actual party member. For most people, he's also the first one that they rank up, but for me, I personally found his storyline to kind of fall flat. Basically, he's this heir to the nobility. His entire village got wiped out by the humans, and you go through his entire confidant, essentially trying to fulfill the wishes of his family and to try to rebuild his house of nobility. And he ends up kind of doing that, but going in a completely different direction. He ends up giving his inheritance to charity, which is kind of a nice, it's kind of touching. His storyline is pretty much he's trying to come to terms with his own identity and his survivor's guilt. And I like the storyline for his follower rank, but I feel like he's one of the more basic characters. He doesn't really have that much personality. His look, his entire appearance is really awesome, but his actual storyline, to me, yes, he's a party member, so he should get a little more credit, but I don't know. I feel like almost every other character is a little more interesting, and the time that you spend with him is a little more intimate than with Strohl. He just kind of, I don't know, it fell flat for me, so I've got him in the B tier. As far as his abilities go, he does have sort of a useful trait. He gets the critical hit boost against the human type enemies. He obviously gives you the samurai archetype, which is kind of OP because of the synthesis skills. Very good physical skills, and physical is, like most of these games, very OP, so I don't think he's bad, but I think that almost everybody else was more interesting to me, especially the storyline. So a little controversial maybe for some people. I got him in the B tier. At the very last place, I got him in number 14. But some of these are kind of close. I don't really know. I don't have a definitive list, but he wasn't one that stood out to me. So at number 13, I do like this character, actually, but I would say, I would say I kind of enjoyed him a little bit more than some of the others, but because he's not one of your party members, and, well, you do see him during the story. It's Bardon. I put Bardon at number 13. I've heard some people don't really like Bardon, but I like his storyline. I like the fact that he obviously deals with the whole Martyra incident he deals with a lot. He gets betrayed by not only the lady of the castle, he gets betrayed by his second in command, and then he has the burden of having to become essentially the leader of his town afterwards. So throughout his entire storyline, you're trying to help him with his self-confidence, and he does get a little bit of ego. He lets the power go to his head a little bit. And then you get to hear a little bit more about his backstory. Like, this guy, he's got a lot of tragedy in his backstory, you know. I think he's a very interesting character. He's a nice, jolly old guy, but he's dealing with the burden of responsibility. Everybody hates him in town. Well, the kids do, at least. They look at him as he's some sort of a freak. And then he tells you that he lost his family. His wife and kids left him because I think he was too involved in trying to keep the town safe. He was working too hard. So he gets his chance at redemption, you know, so I like him automatically a little bit more than Strohl. His storyline is a little bit more dynamic, and then you obviously have the little boss fight, which is kind of a tough fight, especially unless you wait until later in the game. If you do his confidant right away, his rank 7, then it's a tough fight. So seeing him be able to win over the townspeople once more, helping him to secure the town and giving him advice, and then at the very end he's like, we'll trade notes when you become the king and I'll be the governor of my town. I think he's a nice dude. His abilities give you the commander archetype, which is really good because you get the access to all the buffs and debuffs. You will be able to escape battle at any time. I think that's his rank 7 escape master. And also you get to he halves the turn icon for switching the reserves in battle, which is a very important skill. You know, I could even put him a little bit higher, actually. He could actually be a little bit higher. Personally, I would move him, I'd actually move Bardon up. And there's another character that I would probably move down. And this is kind of, so I'm actually going to put Bardon up 2 spots. I'm going to put him at my number 11, I think. Because I actually do like Bardon, and as we've just said, he has some good abilities. Another character that I didn't like as much as some people was Maria. So actually Maria, I think I would put her at the number 13 spot. Sorry, Maria, but when you first meet her, you know, she's kind of a cool character. And then obviously the story events happen, and then she's very downtrodden. She's very sad. She doesn't know her place in the world. She kind of blames herself for everyone disappearing on her. But to me, she just was kind of not annoying, but I remember somebody on Twitter saying that they just kind of felt like she was kind of contrived, and then people were saying some weird things back to this guy. I just think that, you know, she's obviously sort of, I mean, she's kind of, I don't know, I think she's a cute character. I like how her storyline ends, but compared to even like other girls, I think of Nanako from Persona 4, more interesting. Plus Nanako is like actually a major part of the story. You think of, if you play the Yakuza games, you have Haruka, and Haruka, like, I think, you know, there's more interesting characters, kid characters in games. But I do kind of like her storyline, how she gradually matures throughout the follower. I just thought that I had no idea that her storyline was going to be so much about woe is me. But what I do like in rank 8 is she gives a little speech where she says she wasn't sure if she felt like she belonged. She didn't know if Fabian actually liked her. But then she realized what was more important is how did she feel about these other people, not so much did they like her, how did she feel in her heart about them. And I think that that's a great point to make. So I like her character development. I did kind of feel similar, like she wasn't the most interesting character for me because I thought that she was kind of one note. But, like, you know, she's a cute little kid character, completely different from, you know, there's a lot of vastly different personalities in this game. I do kind of like, you know, you get to visit her at the Hushed Honeybee and give her the portraits from your journey. I like the fact that she's this little kid helping out at the Hushed Honeybee. Makes the Hushed Honeybee feel more alive, I suppose, in the world. And her abilities, she gives you the ability to cook. You get an extra dish while cooking. I think that's her rank 7. She gives you an XP boost in battle. So, you know, she's definitely worth doing. She's definitely, you know, all of the followers are worth doing. I just don't think she's the most interesting compared to the rest of the cast. So I'm actually going to put her at number 13. I'm going to put her ahead of Strohl. She's lower on my list. So number 12, we're going to go with Basilio. Now, I actually do like Basilio, but he comes in very late. I think he's the very last follower that you have. He's like a fucking big teddy bear. He's very good. I like to use him in battle. He's very powerful. He has very strong physical stats, and then his berserker, and especially his royal archetype, those are very good to use in battle. His storyline is kind of sad, you know, because what happens in the story with his brother, and then he meets this other childhood friend who also went through the experimentation with him, and he's trying to save this guy's life. That's pretty much his entire arc of his follower rank. But I like how he decides to, like, kind of take more responsibility for himself. He's a very passionate guy, and he always considered himself to be a little bit of a... He relied on other people to give him the answers, and at the end he's like, now I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and I'm going to fight for the future for the people that didn't make it. His storyline's a little emotional there. But I like him as a character, even though he comes on a little late into the story. Again, his storyline isn't the most complex compared to some other characters on this list. He's kind of another one-dimensional, but not bad. He's still a good follower. His abilities, they don't really give you... He gives you bonus XP. He has, like, increased evasion. He doesn't really have too many special abilities, so I like him. Like, I'm not trying to give extra credit to anybody that's a party member. I want to kind of just focus on their follower, what actually happens in their rank for the most part. But I would put him at number 12, and like I said, I moved Bardon to number 11. Those would be my B tier. And in A tier, I've got a lot of people in A tier, but I'm going to start with number 10. This is, you know, all these characters, you can make an argument for swapping their places. I'd put Hulkenberg at my number 10. And again, like, you could interchange a couple of these. I'm going to put Hulkenberg at number 10. I'm going to put her in A tier, though. Love everything about her character design. I love the voice actress in English. I think the English cast is awesome. I'm sure Japanese is too, but I think they have, and also a lot of nuance. Like, they chose the British actors, and I think that's perfect for this setting. The same with something like The Witcher 3. I think even though that's a Polish game, the voice acting should be in English, because you just can't replicate the way that the English language sounds, especially the different accents, so many of them. But Hulkenberg's storyline, I love how she's committed really just to defend the prince, and but her follower rank kind of goes into her backstory a little bit, and it also goes into not just what she did, but the kind of person she felt. Like, she has kind of a contempt for herself. She was kind of born into an aristocratic family. She left. But she still, like, even though she wanted to earn her stripes on her own merits, her privilege kind of followed her wherever she went. Kind of like Strohl a little bit, but he was a little more tragic. He's kind of like the antithesis, where everything went wrong for him. But Hulkenberg got, like, what she considered to be undeserved promotions, and this led to like a rivalry with her former partner and once mentor. And so you follow through her follower rank trying to sort of change this guy's heart, but he's corrupt. And he's just a guy who is very jealous that he got passed up for the promotion, and then you're unable to convince him that he's going down the wrong path. You have to turn him in to the authorities, and this is a tough moment for Hulkenberg. So I think she's just a really cool character, and her storyline, it doesn't take too many twists and turns, but just for like how unique she is as a character, I really like her. And I use her in battle a lot. She has four. I think her lineage has 4 different archetypes. I think that's the most of any one character. I especially like her skills. I think she is the one that learns the counter skills. I definitely like to use the Dark Knight and her royal archetype and just repel skills. Also, she'll in battle, she has a tendency to just guard the main character. She's the one that will take the hit for the main character, and her being a Roussant, I think the lore is that their women are especially strong, like stronger than even a lot of the men are. So I think she's just a really cool character, one of the best party members. But I'd put her in A tier. I'd put her at number 10 on my list of even though she could be a little bit higher, arguably, based on like the story, but just on her follower rank, I'm gonna put her at number 10. Number 9, we're going to go with Junah. Junah's another character that's really interesting. I love her design. She's very much of a prima donna. Even just the way they like drew her character, she's always doing these weird poses. She's always striking a pose, and they gave her sort of these wide hips and these long legs, and they were they did a great job at, I don't want to say sexualizing her, but definitely making her pretty, giving her a glow up. But her storyline's pretty intense, because it starts with her just a day in the life of an idol. She's basically this idol singer that the kingdom loves. She meets a rival, and she's kind of like stealing the spotlight from this local singer, but this local singer tries to sabotage her. And we go into Junah's backstory about her inspiration for being a singer. It turns out that she was a slave, and it turns out that her tribe has like a lot of discrimination against her tribe, and there's all kinds of secrets that are exposed about the Nydia tribe. Like they actually look like they're actually like midgets, but that they transform themselves to appeal to the masses, which is what another one of the followers does. That'll come into play with his story. She has got a very dynamic storyline. She has a couple twists and turns in there, and then she ends up kind of getting this sense of morality where she's not even concerned about she's no longer this prima donna. She just wants to help this other girl and help her get some of the spotlight back. So they kind of put their rivalry aside, and because she's all about ultimately the love of the music and trying to inspire people the way that music inspired her to gain her freedom and to make the world a better place. And you also kind of get some of that if you do her little hangout events. She talks about her joy for singing and making people feel like they're having a brighter day. So I like her storyline. She's a really wholesome character. She's a little sassy. She's a little more rated M, I guess you could say, but I actually don't even know how this game is rated T. Not that I care about the rating system at all, but this is just as much of a mature game as any Persona game would be. And she also has very good archetypes, because she has the Persona Mask, the Persona Dancer, and the Persona Master. So she gets a lot more elemental attacks than most of the other archetypes. Same with Eupha. Yeah, I think that Junah is up there A tier, but I got her at number 9. Number 8, I've got Eupha. Now Eupha, I think, is kind of underrated. At first I don't really like how her character is sort of integrated. I don't love her storyline initially, but one of the cool things about her follower rank, I like how she's this pagan girl that's visiting the city for the first time, and her storyline revolves pretty much around just the pagan aspect of the pagan philosophy versus the very devout religious, the local religion, the theocracy in town. And I don't like, I'm not a big fan of religion, so I love how they integrate her character as this person who was very devout, but with new evidence that came to light, she changes her perspective entirely. And she has one of the best quotes in the game where she says, you should extend your hands to other people instead of extending your hands in prayer. So she's all about, you can still have religion, but don't have blind faith to any authority figure or any dogma. You have to think about the people more than anything. So amazing character, amazing writing. Just for that, her follower is really good. I got her at number 8, and she also has not the most amazing abilities, really. But the Devil Summoner is an awesome. You get all of the different personas and the demons and the masks and all that, along with Junah's archetypes. You can pretty much hit all the weaknesses. I forgot to say with Junah, I think her archetype in particular, I think she gives the weaknesses, and then you can exploit them with the Eupha. So Eupha's honestly kind of underrated, man. I got her at number, number 8, but she's a really good character. At number 7, I'm going to put my girl, Catherina. First of all, I love her design. I think there's no coincidence. She looks like a character from Catherine. She's got the pink hair. They give her green eyes. I think that's just a beautiful character model. She's really very pretty. I love the green eyes. I love green. I love the way her entire character model is. And she's a really funny character. I mean, she's one of the candidates for the throne. You meet her many times fighting on the Gauntlet Runner. She's so determined to beat you in battle. And it turns out that she's really just trying to help her people. She's trying to steal from the rich to give to the poor. Really awesome storyline. And then she kind of has a change of heart, and she's like, well, if we steal from the rich, we're also kind of making victims out of the rich. So we're kind of becoming the bad guys ourselves. So then at the very end, her plan is to gather up her people that have been kind of losing out on work because of discrimination, and she's like, we're gonna have like a workers union and get everybody jobs. And she's a very wholesome character. And also I just love that she'll just show up in the dungeons, and she'll come into the dungeons, and she'll help you. She'll just come in and do this supernova attack and like take half of the health of the boss, and she's just like this eager combatant. And then she gives you the pugilist, the brawler and the pugilist archetypes. Very, very cool character, I think. And she actually does have some practical usage in battle, which is important too. So I got her at number 7, I believe. And number 6, this is a character that a lot of people, I think, have in their S tier, but I'm going to go with Brigitta. I think it's Brigitta. Brigitta, whatever. We're going to go with her at number 6. Love her character model. She looks very interesting. She's this very mysterious woman. She's very bossy. Like, she's very dangerous. You get this dangerous aura from her. And she's a woman that's living on edge. She's like dealing with sort of black market, not exactly black market, but these kind of black market weapons. Very interesting character. And then you get caught up in this conspiracy with the church. And then first couple, you're like taking care of her dog. It's so weird. They kind of throw you for a loop, and then you go visit the village. You have to talk her down from destroying this village, but then she realizes that she's just been tricked by the church, and then she kind of has this breakdown talking about how she was victimized when she was in her youth. She was all alone, which is why she took a liking to the stray dog. She was a stray dog. I think her parent thinks she was an orphan, and then sort of the parallel with how she indirectly, it wasn't even her fault, it was the Sanctus Church that made those kids orphaned at the end of her storyline, because of what the Sanctus Church did. So she's all about subverting the Sanctus Church and then trying to help people that have been victimized from the weapons trade. She's an interesting character for sure. A lot of twists and turns in her storyline, and I like her abilities too. She's the one that can sell you the igniters, which are basically the accessories that you can get, and they give you some powerful abilities. Gives you discounts in the stores, and she'll just be sending you money at the end of the, like, once you get her to, what is it, rank 7? Yeah, you get her to rank 7, you get the supply crate. She'll just be sending you money. To be getting free money from her just from playing the game. Definitely an A tier, if not S tier character. I don't think she's quite S tier. I don't want to put everybody in S tier, but she's one of the better followers for sure. Very interesting and kind of an emotional storyline with her. So I got her at number 6. And then my top 5, I'm gonna go with Neuras at number 5. Neuras is, I think, he's got to be one of the fan favorite characters in this game. I don't even know quite like what other characters like him in a game. I'm sure there are other characters like him, but I can't quite put my finger on somebody like him. Very well written. He just talks so differently to what you expect. He really does feel like a fantasy character, which is what, like, these characters, they really do feel, most of them, like they're in a fantasy story, which is kind of why I put Strohl the bottom tier, because he doesn't really feel too much like, Strohl doesn't really feel too much like he belongs strictly in a fantasy setting, but Neuras is just this cantankerous old engineer guy who he's very much the optimist, but he's also like, very eccentric, and he tells you a lot about his backstory through his follower rank. Like, not only is he such a joy to see in the main story, but through his follower rank, he tells you he had a lot of opportunities in life, but he was so much invested in his work. He didn't have a love life. He lost. Very interesting how he says he had a fiance, but, very funny. She left him. I can't remember quite the way he put it, but he was like, he was so absorbed in his work that he just forgot that he even had a fiance, and by the time he remembered about her, she had left him, and he just kind of went on with his work. And I think there's a point in the story where he talks about how he was kind of forced to do something by the crown, and he was kind of forced to go along with some experiments that were harming people, and he just kind of had this moral conundrum about being the facilitator of this, and then of course that kind of ties in with his very final rank, where you find out, oh, the trinkets that you've been collecting have been it's like a nuclear weapon device, and he decides to destroy it because he thinks that technology should be to help the world, not just for people to show off what they can build, but if it doesn't have a practical usage, then nobody should be making that kind of stuff, and that's a great message to have. So kind of giving him extra credit because of how awesome he is just in the story. He's not like one of your party members, but he basically is. He's kind of like, I guess, kind of like a Sojiro, sort of. If we were looking at Persona 5, that's not really like a perfect comparison, but he's kind of like the father figure of the game. He's kind of like the Dojima or the Sojiro, I guess you could say. I just think he's awesome. He's a lot of fun. I like the gunner archetype. I like the fact that when you're in the dungeons, you can just shoot the enemies from a distance in the real-time combat. I think he's a great character. Only thing I don't like about his followers is that you have to really, I can't even remember in New Game Plus, like, where I need to go to find all of the relics. That's kind of weird. It's kind of annoying. He's kind of hard to rank up because you actually have to play through the game to rank him up. That's kind of interesting. But number 4, and actually I'm thinking I should probably move these around, because I should probably move my next 2 around a little bit, but the way that I have the list, I'm gonna say More is in my top 5 too. I got More at number 4. Again, this is mostly based on the storytelling, I guess. Like, some of these characters, they do actually have huge implications for the gameplay, but I think More is an awesome character because he's the narrator. He's like the person who is responsible for the story. There's like the plot twist of who he actually is. And he's like a very interesting character. You kind of can guess where the story's going with him. He doesn't really have that much in his follower rank. He's just kind of starting to have these epiphanies. He's starting to remember his lost memories, but you know, he's sort of like the Igor of this game. I think Igor's still the GOAT, but this dude's he's pretty interesting, and given the fact that he's the one who wrote the novel, I'm kind of giving him some extra props for that. Like he's kind of like he's the narrator, so he's up there, you know. He's kind of consider him like Igor, and who wouldn't put Igor near the top? He obviously gives you like your main. He gives you the soul hacker archetype. He gives you sort of your first lineage that you have. He gives you some passive bonuses to your stats when you get him to rank 8. But I mean, you know, you could actually just skip his follower altogether, I suppose, and that would be interesting. But like, given the fact that he's so important to the story, and you go to Academia, he's got his own location you go to visit him. I just think he's an awesome character. Factoring in the story to where I rank him, I would put him up there. I also put Gallica. I got Gallica for some reason at the top of my A tier, but again, like you don't really do much like that. I should put her like near the bottom probably because she's the character that just ranks up automatically. So I'm kind of contradicting myself here because you don't really do much at all in her follower. The fact that she's always with you though, and I think, you know, she's like this sweet little fairy girl. I think she's really cute. I think Gallica is one of the best mascot characters if you consider her the mascot of the game. She's one of the best mascots that I think that Atlas has made. I think she's very friendly. She's very helpful. You can always like press triangle and ask her these little quips during battle. She's the navigator sort of, and she navigates you even through like the main world, tells you who's available to rank up and then what activities you can do. She's also useful in battle because she'll just give you some extra turn icons. You can be losing the fight and she'll just give you randomly, like usually if someone gets knocked out in battle, she's going to give you the next turn some extra icons. It's somewhat randomized. She could give you it at the beginning of the fight too. I just really like Gallica, so I got her at the top of my A tier because you can't not have her somewhere in the top. And actually thinking about this, I'm going to have to move some of these around. I'm actually going to put, because I forget, I'm going to put Brigitta in number 3. I'm going to move her up from 6 to 3, and I'm going to move everybody else down 1. Because Brigitta actually gives you the, really OP money skills that you get to use. I'm going to put her at the top of my A tier. She's going to be at number 3. I'm going to put Neuras at 4, Gallica at 5, and Mora at 6. I'm going to switch them around a little bit. That makes a little more sense when you think about it. But in my S tier, I'm going to wrap it up here. In my S tier, got 2 more characters, and I got to put Heismay at number 2. His introduction is awesome. Like, I actually saw some of him during the promotional material. And by the way, I always thought he was a rabbit. I remember seeing him. I thought he was going to be the mascot. But Gallica's the mascot, I guess. And then I thought he was a rabbit because he got those big ears. But he's actually a little fucking bat. Like, this dude is so cool. I love Heismay's character. His introduction is so awesome. You're hunting him down, thinking he's a bounty, and he's like this, you find out like he's actually one of the good guys, and then like it's so emotional fighting him for the first time because he's got, you know, you find out his secret, and this dude is just trying to, you know, live to honor his dead son. Like, so tragic what happens to his kid. He wasn't there to protect him, and his son was like killed in some kind of tribal warfare, some disagreement between the 2 settlements, I think. And his entire followers, you're just trying to find this burial place for his son, because in this world, they cremate their kids, and then they have like the urn with their ashes and their bones. He's got this little different tradition that that's part of his tribe, and this dude is just trying to find a place for his dead son to be laid to rest, and like it's just really emotional. He's just an awesome character. Love his voice actor, love his character design, so original for Atlas, and such an emotional, like really emotional, like actually a compelling storyline. Then he even says like he kind of looks at you as a son, like the main character. Like this dude is awesome. I love everything about him, like his battle skills. He gets the ninja and the thief lineage. He marks enemies on the map for you. Like you can see where they are. Like the stronger enemies, they just get marked on the map, which is like a good feature of this game. Really nice mini map when you're exploring the dungeons. You can see everything very well. I just think he's like, he's got an awesome, not only the main story but his follower arc. It's like so impactful. One of the best in the game, I think. I got Heismay at number 2. He's got to be S tier for me. And number 1, you know what? I didn't even like this guy. I love this dude. I love Alonzo. Alonzo got to be S tier. He's got to be number 1. Got to be like the best written character in the game. This dude has so many twists and turns. He's the faker archetype. He's an idiot just like Junah is, and they have a secret. You never get to see his other form, but they're a very deceptive tribe, and this dude is like a Robin Hood. He's trying to steal money from the rich and corrupt. He's a con artist, but he does it because he's like almost like a gentleman thief. He's almost like the concept from Persona 5 with Joker being the trickster. He gives you the trickster archetype when you max him out. You first meet him. You can actually first meet this dude because I actually spent extra time studying what happens in the world each day. So you meet him very beginning of the game, and he comes to town with his mother, and he asks his mother not to call him Alonzo, call me Cuculus. So he's got this fake name called Cuculus. Then when you first meet him, someone else is like pickpocketed you, and he's like, let me go get this back. I'm gonna go trick the trickster. And he helps you, and he's like, I'm gonna teach you these deceptive skills so that you can become the king. There's something about you. You got this potential. He sees the potential in our main character. But then we learn that he's got a secret of his own, and he gives a speech about the person that's most vulnerable is the one that they think they have the upper hand or whatnot. And then turns out even he can be tricked, which humanizes him right away. And it's really tragic what happens to him. Like, he indirectly got his mother killed, and then the entire village hates him. It's not really his fault at all, actually, but he's in too deep with his corruption. But this dude is just trying to save the people of his town that are being extorted. Like, such a cool dude. Like, that's some real world implications right there. How many people have been extorted by landlords and the people in power, like the small communities being affected. He's basically Robin Hood, and he's going through all of these extra twists and turns to try and make the world better for his people. And then in the middle of his storyline, he decides to kind of extorts the guy he was trying to extort, so he gets the upper hand on him. But then he because everybody hates him and they won't accept the money from him, he has to like turn himself in, and he fakes his own death. But in the moment, you're like, what the fuck? Like, they just killed this guy? That's so sad, like, when it happens. And then it's so beautiful, and I wrote this in my review, that he gets the happy ending. He's got such a happy ending, maybe the best ending out of all the characters, even though he had horrible things happen to him. He comes back from the dead, and then you're like, are you a ghost? And he's like, no, I'm real. And he gives this fucking beautiful speech. It's my favorite speech in the game, I think, other than Eupha, when she's like, extend your hands to the people that you care about instead of like looking up to God or something. He says, we always run from reality to go, and we go into fiction because it's more comforting, and reality follows us wherever we go. But we will always dive headfirst back into fantasy whenever we can, and we've just got to keep, like, it's so poetic. It's the very message of the game that we need to have storytelling, and we need to have escapism in our lives, as long as it's for the right reasons and it's like a balancing act. So this dude is such a great character. I love the portrait of his character. I love just an amazing storyline, and I just like the philosophy behind his character. He's a cool dude. Gives you some good abilities too. he really just gives you like money and discounts. But you get the tricks. I mean, you get the trickster archetype. He's just like an awesome confidant. Just as a confidant, this dude, they did such a great job just for his storyline. So for me, he's not only the best follower in the game, but like he's better than just as a follower. At least he's better. I got him ahead of all of the party members. And I try not to give too much extra credit to the party members, but you know, some of them you can't not think about their implications in the main story. So I put him at number 1, and then my final list would look like this, and I might have switched a few of these around while discussing this, just talking off the top of my head. This is how I rank the followers, and I think it's a great list from Atlas. Just an amazing list. Great characters in this game, great dialogue, great writing, good storylines all the way around. And thought I would do a follower ranking because I really like these characters. And you know, someone's got to do a follower tier list for this game. It deserves one. So that's kind of how I view it. Let me know what you think. If you got this far in the video, tell me how you would rank them. But thanks for watching, and I hope you like Metaphor as much as I do. Game of the year for sure.